Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rhino Dino, and this is a very random video I decided to do because I've been procrastinating so much on another video I've been trying to make for a good while now, and it will eventually come out, I think. I don't want to say what it is, but it has nothing to do with what we are doing today. So, name is Rhino Dino once again, and welcome to Super Metroid. One of my favorite games of all time, and I'm doing a commentary of it. I decided to record the video, this gameplay, a day before, and I was like, you know what, I want to put a video out on my channel, because my channel is either dead or just filled with Smash replays, and maybe there's like a logo here and there. So I decided, hey, I love Super Metroid, I could do a commentary on this. Don't expect this to be professional in any way, because I suck at making cohesive videos, except when I actually have a script. But considering that this gameplay is like 2 hours and a half and we're here for the long run, no. So, okay, how was I introduced to Super Metroid, and by extension the Metroid series itself? Might as well start there. I mean, gotta have a jumping point somehow. Super Metroid, I was introduced to it thanks to a YouTuber reviewer called Some Call Me Johnny. I think you guys may have heard of him, or maybe not. If you don't know, he's a very chill and laid-back reviewer of video games that reviews video games very, very casually. And I found him out all the way back in late 2013 when I was fucking, a kid? I was a little kid. I was excited for Sonic Lost Worlds. I was way too naive. That game doesn't suck, by the way. It's very just meh, in my opinion. But the game is also divisive by its nature. Whatever. I got introduced. I found him out via that review, and I found that his review was actually pretty good, and I followed the guy since then. Then I decided to watch some of his previous reviews, and I watched some of his oldest reviews on back when he was doing SGB reviews, the Super Gaming Brothers, him and his brother Elliot, and maybe their brother Mark would join in every now and then. It was mainly just for like a skit or two. Turning the TV off, indeed. But I found him out, and then I found out about the Metroid series, and I already knew about the Metroid series by then, because I was following like some Nintendo websites when I was young, and I knew about, and the European Nintendo websites had portals. Like, don't take it too literally. It's like, oh, there's the Mario portal where you can find about the Mario games, the Zelda portal where you can find all the Zelda games. I had one for Metroid, so I knew of Metroid's existence ever since that, but then Some Call Me Johnny's reviews actually made me want to try these games out, especially this one, Super Metroid, and also Fusion and Zero Mission, which I would eventually get to play. And then I think in 2014, back when I had a computer that was like a Windows Vista, and I had way bigger plans for this YouTube channel than I have right now, I decided I wanted to play for it. I wanted to play through Super Metroid on an emulator, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm playing this on an emulator, and I'm gonna use save states, because who said I was a professional? No one, especially me. So just to ease things up and not waste too much time. I mean, this is already long enough as it is, so I don't want to waste you guys' time. This is just a simple commentary about a guy who's rambling way too much about this game he loves, and maybe some other random shit that has no business being here, but I'll talk about it anyways, because why not? Before I get off topic again, expect these tangents in this commentary, ladies and gentlemen. I decided to play it, and I got to Meridia, a later region of this game, but then I got kind of stuck on it, and eventually my computer died. So I lost that save file, and I wouldn't replay Super Metroid until like 2017, I think, or 2018. It was before Super Nintendo games got announced for Nintendo Switch Online. That's for sure. And then eventually I replayed it on an emulator, got 100%, and beat it, and it was really satisfying. I was like, yo, this game rocks. And then when I got my Nintendo Switch, and then eventually I paid for the Nintendo Switch Online subscription, I played through Super Metroid, and I fell in love with it all over again. Although I did procrastinate a bit since with that playthrough, since I started a bit, then I wouldn't continue to play it for a good while. During the end of like 2019, I was playing some other games like the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection, which was outside of playing a little bit of one of the versions of Street Fighter 2 on an SNES emulator, was like my first proper experience with that series, and I had a blast. And Sonic Forces. We do not talk about Sonic Forces. It was definitely a game. But then eventually I came around and beat it again in 100%. Then I wouldn't play Super Metroid for a few years, up until recently, where back in early 2022, last year basically, Nintendo announced that they would be closing down the Wii U and 3DS eShops. So I was like, well, I never actually got to own Super Metroid on the Wii U, so let's get that. But I decided, you know what, not just the Wii U, let's get it on the new 3DS as well. So I have a full-on portable way to play this game, and owned, because, you know, you could say, oh, but you could play it on the Switch. Yeah, but that's a subscription model, and I'm not sure if Nintendo will ever make those games actually available for me to purchase and own forever, quote-unquote, because I don't think you actually truly own the games. Whatever, that's a discussion for another time. I don't even know the specifics of that. But I got it on the 3DS, and then I played it again. Once again, really liked this game. You can tell that I always liked this game. and then I got it on the Wii U, because it was one of the first games from the Virtual Console service that I wanted to get on the Wii U, but I got Super Mario RPG instead. It was a good game, although I'm picky with turn-based RPGs. So it would take me quite a bit for me to beat that one, but eventually I did. But I finally got Super Metroid on the Wii U, Virtual Console, and it was nice that I finally had beaten the game, not just 100%, but under free in-game hours, which, if you do that, you can see Samus with our suits. Before the internet was a thing, ladies. Before the internet was a thing. I'm trying, even though I'm gonna swear a bit, I'm trying not to go too risque with this. I mean, I'm gonna put it on YouTube, for crying out loud. I can only go so far, you know? But then I played it, and then eventually, since I have a private Discord server for me and my friends, I decided, hey, how about I play this game for my friends and show them a lot. So, if they see this video, it will be a bit redundant in some ways. I apologize, but I'm also like, if you want a recorded way of me expressing my thoughts with this game, here it is. Coupled with some okay gameplay. I ain't a speedrunner, as you can see right here. I'm failing to even jump on these platforms. I had bad luck with that session. And then I had the idea to make this video, and I replayed the game again and got an even faster time. In-game timer of 147. That was pretty good for me. Yeah, I use save states, but it's also like, less time, you know. I still, and my main purpose with this gameplay session was really to make this video. Nothing more, nothing less. So, yeah. But okay, to explain what's actually going on here, in case you didn't pay attention to the beginning, and I mean, considering that I'm talking, I don't blame you at all. So basically, we're playing as in the role of Samus Aran. She's a pretty good bounty hunter, one of the first female video game protagonists ever, and a fucking badass. That's all I can say, basically. So Super Metroid is like the game says at the beginning, Metroid free. And basically continuing on from Metroid 1 and Metroid 2 story. Metroid 1, basically you had to defeat Mother Brain, which was the main villain of that game. And then, because the Metroids, which are basically these jelly-like creatures that we saw at the end of Metroid 1, they were too dangerous because you can easily suck away your health. The Galactic Federation decided to commence an order to completely extinguish them from the galaxy. There's no kill like overkill, they say. And then after some of your troops failed and probably died to extinguish the Metroids since they started to evolve and all that shit, they said, okay, Samus, do your job please, and find those GF troops if you can. They're dead, but hey, we killed the Metroids, except for one baby Metroid that Samus saw and was like, God, he's not attacking me, it'd be kind of in poor taste if I killed the baby, so fuck it. But it goes a bit deeper than that, since the Metroid series actually got a manga back in the early 2000s, and it basically detailed like a backstory for Samus, and a lot of dark elements about it came to fruition. For example, Ridley, that space pterodactyl creature we saw at the beginning of this game, basically not only is a villain, shocker, but is basically Samus's arch nemesis, since when she was 3 years old, he killed her parents in cold blood, and after a while, when she grew up as an adult, he taunted her and said, maybe I used your parents to regain some of my cells so I could survive more. And Jesus Christ, no wonder Samus had PTSD. Although PTSD was never actually confirmed, it does seem like she has PTSD. Although I really only does feel like she has PTSD because of a poorly written scene in Other M. Still have yet to play that game, but goddamn, I've heard things about that story. Oh boy. But yeah, and another thing that came to fruition was the fact that she was adopted by an ancient civilization called the Chozo. Basically, these humanoid bird-like creatures that are mostly Pacific. We find out in the Dread there's a tribe of them that are not, but for now they would be Pacific. And he gave her Chozo DNA so she could breathe on the planet, which is the planet we're exploring, Planet Zebus. That's the place she grew up. And fuck. This is what happens when you do a commentary unscripted. You sometimes get to it's just like football coaches in interviews, like I'm not a fan of football, but I like making fun of football. I'm from Portugal, in case you guys don't know, and we're a country that absolutely loves their football, or soccer for silly Americans. And God for fuck's sake, I have to deal with that shit constantly on the news, and it's tiring. But I make fun of it just to pass the time. And also, like, sometimes I legitimately get a kick out of watching someone that's like saying shoot her, and then he fails miserably, or just goes below the legs, and we say quick. Portuguese culture is quite something, and this is only a part of it. But back where I was talking about, I was on the Chozo, right? Yeah. Samus was adopted by them, and then eventually grew up, and then eventually beat Ridley. And in Metroid 2, and then another thing, probably the reason that Samus didn't kill the baby Metroid is because she saw herself in that baby Metroid and didn't want to potentially kill it. Even though it was her parents that got killed, they could have had some implications on her. So, already killed its parents, especially the Queen Metroids. So, okay, leave them with me. And then she went to the Sarah Station, and the Metroids, even though they were creations by the Chozo, were meant to keep the X-Parasites out of Bay. We will find more out about the X-Parasites in Metroid Fusion. They begin to evolve, and they naturally starting to cause havoc, so they have to be sealed away and then eventually eliminated by Samus. And and then but then then Samus delivered to that station and was like, hey, and then they found out like Metroids could potentially be harnessed for the good of the galaxy. Too bad I really came in there, killed a bunch of people. Yeah, we saw dead bodies in this game. And kidnapped the baby Metroid. So basically now we're on a mission to explore this planet and find out the whereabouts of this baby. That's pretty much the gist of the story. It's not a very complex one, and I don't think we would see more complex Metroid stories until Fusion, or Prime 3, or Other M. God damn it. Other M is pretty much the punching bag of this fan base. I still want to play it though. I might as well say the Metroid games I've played one, although I used the password, so I just played it for the lols. Played 2 recently, NAM2R. It's unofficial remake made by Milton Gosty, I think that's his name. The game got a cease and desist by Nintendo a few days later, but hey, at least it's easy. You can easily find it online, and the dude went on to work with the Ori team on Microsoft, so that's nice. Microsoft, I don't think it was Microsoft. Is it owned by Microsoft? It's like an indie developer, and then the rights for Ori are owned by Microsoft. I'm not sure. I never played those games, but I've heard they're great Metroidvania, so one day I want to try them out. And then I also played Samus Returns last year as part of my Wii U and 3DS battle plan to get some eShop's games before the eShop went kaplooey. I also played Super Metroid, obviously. Metroid Fusion, Metroid Zero Mission. Recently, I finally got to 3D Metroid games with Prime Remastered and Prime Hunters. Prime Remastered was great. Prime Hunters, not so much. Probably the most mediocre Metroid game I've ever played, and gotta be honest, I feel like I'm gonna whenever I actually get to play all Metroid games, if that ever happens, probably. I think Prime Hunters will probably be the worst of the bunch because that has nothing going for it, or if it has something, it's missed potential or not explored enough, like the hunters themselves. Eesh. And then Metroid Dread, which I was very excited about because that was a game that was like, what, 19 years in the making? Jesus Christ. And then it finally came out, and Metroid fans rejoiced. Metroid seems to be on kind of a renaissance right now, since we're getting, we got Dread in 2021, we just got Prime Remastered. There's rumors aplenty that Prime 2 and Prime 3 are also gonna get remasters, although if they're gonna be as good looking as Prime 1 or not, that's still up to debate. And the imminent Prime 4, which, considering how much time has passed since it restarted development, I think it's only a matter of time before it comes out. Maybe it'll even come out this year. Who knows? Or maybe not, I don't know. I'm a patient man. I've waited this many years. Well, now, where's my Tears of the Kingdom? I'm so excited for that game. But anyway, I have 2 water balls here, so this is gonna be a long one. So yeah, and then with Metroid, I'm very much looking forward to if Prime 2 comes out, the Prime 2 remaster when that comes out. Okay, might as well commentate on what the hell we're doing. So we defeated a mini boss called Spore Spawn, and we gained our first batch of super missiles. Now, speedrunners have found an alternate way to get super missiles in Brinstar using a technique called the Mach Ball, which is kind of a glitch, actually. So basically, what the Mach Ball is, I think it's written Mach Balls in Mach Speed, but people write it as Mach Balls in mocking a person. That's funny. So basically, Mach Ball, what it does is that, just to explain the controls a bit, this game has a run button. I think it's the only Metroid game that actually has a run button. You accelerate even further. But with Morph Ball, you normally cannot run. You just go into Morph Ball and then you're a little ball and you go around. The Mach Ball, what it does is that by jumping, running, and then on the last frame before Samus hits the ground, you turn into Morph Ball mode. It allows her to maintain the running speed of the run button in Morph Ball mode, which allows her to get to certain areas early and potentially getting super missiles early and ice beam early. I don't know how to use that trick. The only tricks I use in this run are free. The wall jump, which the game does teach you about, it's very tricky to pull off. But the fact that you can wall jump on one single wall, and no matter what the wall is, allows you to reach areas way before intended, and allows you to sequence break, which is one of my favorite things in this game, is sequence breaking, going off the beaten path and getting upgrades earlier than intended. I love that. Not every Metroid game has sequence breaking, and I think the only other time we'd see a wall jump as broken as this would be Zero Mission, which I can't pull off the wall jump in that game for the life of me, because that game's speed is way faster than this one. So making precise wall jumps on one single wall in Metro Zero Mission is really difficult for me. I can do it in this game because the game's jumps are floatier than normal, which some people don't like. I don't mind. I'm actually completely fine with them, as it allows me to be a bit more precise. But it's a preference. It's a matter of preference at the end of the day. I can understand why Super Metroid is not loved by everybody, and in a lot of ways, Metroid Dread improved on a lot of aspects that Super Metroid Fusion and Zero Mission had already established the series. But Super Metroid, as I was saying, I use 3 tricks. I use wall jump, I use the Shine Spark, which I need the speed booster for, and save states. To show off the power of the wall jump, you can get to Crate early. Normally you need the high jump boots to get there, but with a well-placed wall jump, you can get to Crate early. I can make the jump, and I've shown it off to my friends, but I normally don't like to go to Crate early. I normally like to get the high jump boots first, just to get comfortable during the boss fight, because Crate is pretty big, and after he gets taller, you need to jump onto those platforms. You normally require the wall jump, and while I am pretty alright with the wall jump, I am not confident enough to take on a boss with it. Although, whenever I play Super Metroid again, maybe I could test it out and actually try Crate early. It would save a bit of time. And for speedrunning, saving time is of the essence, because if you go look up speedruns of this game, those dudes do some pretty radical stuff. For example, of course, skipping right to Crate and getting the high jump boots later, or maybe not at all. I'm not sure if you're doing any percents, if you need to get the high jump boots or not. I don't know. I would have to go check that later. But for 100%, you don't need to get the high jump boots right away. The Monk Ball glitch, which people have used to completely ignore Spore Spawn. It's a slow mini boss, so might as well. And they've also used to get to Fantoon without. Yeah, I think they've gotten to Fantoon without the high jump, or something like that. I know that that one sequence break that I'm gonna do allows me to, which is a simple wall jump. I mean, it's not a simple wall jump, it's a very complex one, but it allows me to get the speed booster much earlier without having to backtrack all the way. It's very useful, I'd say. But on to Ridley. That's later. On to Crate. It's a short area. There's not much going on. But it's basically just a simple access way to the boss. It's really Super Metroid's. What I like about Super Metroid the most, not only is the sequence breaking, but just the feeling of getting stronger and stronger. That applies to a lot of Metroid games. Basically, majority of Metroid games have that feeling, and that's one of the reasons why I love Metroid, in spite of the fact that it requires you explore stuff. There have been times where, because I need to explore and get to find something, I have gotten headaches because of that. I remember back when I played Sonic Adventure as a kid, I was on a knuckle stage, Lost World actually, which looking at it now is probably one of the simpler stages to get the Master Emerald pieces. But as a kid, I didn't know that, and I was trying to find a piece of the Master Emerald, but I couldn't and I started getting a headache, and I had to pause the game and lie down on the bed for a few minutes. It was very awkward, and that stuff rarely happens with me, but it has happened, and when it happens, it's not a very good feeling, no. But thankfully with Metroid, especially newer Metroid games, they normally have like a hint system, or they guide you sort of linearly towards your next destination, but in a way that it doesn't feel like you're being guided, like when Dreads, or in the case of Fusion and Zero Mission, you are literally guided, especially in Fusion, since that game is very linear. Although for finding like all the items, like getting 100%, that's still up to you. And there's still moments in that game where you need to explore off the beaten path to get to your next destination. So there's always a bit of that Metroid's charm. Unlike Prime Hunters. I mean, Prime Hunters doesn't exactly tell you where to go, but the level design is so linear and so basic that it doesn't really offer much in exploration. There's a bit here and there, but I gotta be honest, it's only there just to fill a quota and nothing else. Anyway, back to Super. We killed Kraid, we got the various suit. The various suit makes Samus go orange, and in Metroid 2, the previous game, because it was a Game Boy game, and the Game Boy is a black and white system, they give her shoulder pads whenever you get the barrier suit to distinguish it from the power suit, and that's a pretty iconic Samus design, not gonna lie. Even though they look bulky as shit. Bulky as shit. And then this game also introduced a new suit, which we'll see later on, and I love its color scheme. Yeah, getting the various suit, what it does is that it allows you to go through hot areas and also increases your defense. And that's pretty useful when going back to Nerfer, which we were there for a bit, but we didn't explore much of it because we needed the various suit. And there's a tank right here. Just in case it wasn't clear enough, this is a 100% playthrough. I sometimes, like, there's certain areas in this game where I'm like, did I get everything? Did I get everything? And then I go to my ship to refill all of my ammo and health, and then I'm like, okay, I did get everything. In total, you get 14 energy tanks, 230 missiles, 50 super missiles, and 50 power bombs, which we'll get later. That alongside all the major power-ups, including grappling beam and X-ray scope, 4 reserve tanks, which reserve tanks are an item that only appears in this game. Basically, if your health reaches 0, you can use the game can, if you set it to auto, which it's set by default as auto, if you use a reserve tank, you get some of your health back, and that's pretty cool. It's just that they never brought it back, and honestly, I don't think a lot of people use them or use them intentionally anyway. So when Fusion came out, I was like, nah. Don't bother. Just give them like 20 energy tanks. Jesus Christ. 20 energy tanks. Not even... I mean, then they learn from their lesson, because in Zero Mission, I think you only get 12, which is more than enough. I mean, normally during my playthroughs I get like, what, 9? Yeah, because I don't 100% Zero Mission. That's the thing. With Metroid games, I've only 100% it. Super Metroid. I was gonna do for Metroid 2, but I forgot a missile tank, and I was like, fuck it, I don't care. It was just like, it's one missile tank. What could possibly go wrong? Prime Remastered, but only with items. Scans, I wasn't able to do 100%, and scanning everything in Metroid Prime is kind of a pain in the ass, because you gotta know which items, which things you can get again. You can actually, they're not missable permanently, and which things are missable permanently. For example, there's an area in Metroid Prime that is, you go, and it's the underwater frigate Orpheon, and it's a pretty beautiful area. I really like the music and the atmosphere of that area. The thing is that there are some enemies down there called the Aqua Drones and the Aqua Pirates, especially the Aqua Drones. Those, if you kill all of them, you won't be able to see them ever again. If you didn't scan them, you're not getting 100% on scans. Thankfully, you don't need to get 100% in scans, to be able to see one of the post-credit scenes. But man, if you want to get, for example, all the extras in Prime Remastered, you'd have to do like a New Game Plus, so all your scan logs are carried towards a new playthrough, and then locate the things you're missing. If need be, use a guide. Like pause the game, look at your scan log, look at the things that are potentially missing, compare them online, and see what you missed. Because man, I'm not getting 100% scans is kind of a bitch, and I'm not sure if that applies to your Metroid Prime titles, but I bet it does. I bet it does. So I just focus more on 100%ing items, which for me is just more important. And then I've 100% Samus Returns, which wasn't hard. It is a bit of a guide, but that game structure is on the linear side, so no biggie. And I have 100% Dread, because Dread does a thing that I really like, which is it points after a while. I'm not sure, I forgot if you need to like get to the last area or whatever, but after a while it starts pointing you in like, oh, maybe there's an item around here, maybe there's an item around there, and it helps so and when you want to get 100%, it helps so much. It's really a great quality of life improvement, and honestly, Dread is kind of competing with Super Metroid is for my favorite Metroid game, and potentially one of my favorite games of all time, because of all these quality of life improvements and just how tightly the game is in terms of level design, structure, atmosphere, and story. I think the only thing that Super Metroid has that is superior to Dread, because all the other ones are like comparable or maybe slightly inferior to Dread, would be the soundtrack. I think the soundtrack for Super Metroid is way more memorable and catchy than Dread's. Dread has some good music, and they remixed Laura Brinstar, and I love that. I love that. Okay, so Laura Brinstar, we went through it already. It's basically the red portion of Brinstar after the jungle area, and the music in that place kind of reminds me a bit of Japanese instruments. Although I guess that wasn't the original intention, or maybe it was. I don't know. But even though it's very simple, I love how that song is composed. But we wouldn't see that theme again until like Prime 2, I believe. And then they wouldn't bring it back until Samus Returns, which they brought it back and made an amazing remix of it that I love so much. And then in Metroid Dread, they brought it back as cutscene music. I don't plan on spoiling the plots of other games, mainly because I know some people that want to get to Metroid Dread but haven't yet. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna discuss anything, especially because the plot of Metroid Dread is, while not big, it's definitely bigger than most Metroid games and has some pretty big stuff. So I ain't saying anything. I hope people in the comments also don't spoil Dread, and if they do, they put like a disclaimer or something. I'm not sure how much. I mean, considering that right now I'm a small YouTube channel, and I'm not really sure how much this is gonna grow with this video. I mean, I very much doubt that this video is gonna make my channel rise in popularity. No, unless people make fun of, I don't know, or something like that. I'm not gonna. I may check the comments, and I hopefully, something for the comments. What's your experiences with the Metroid series? What's your experiences with this game in particular? How did you find it? And stuff like that. Let's get a discussion, bro. I don't mind. Maybe I'll talk, maybe I'll not. I don't know. But I'm all down for people commenting on stuff. But yeah, continuing on. But yeah, Metroid Dread. I think the only thing that I really need to do for Metroid Dread to like solidify if it's actually gonna be one of my favorite games of all time and beat Super Metroid Dread would be another playthrough. Oh look, it's me, Crocomire. Hello, Samus staff going to miss. No. I love doing that voice for Crocomire, and it's not even a me idea. There's like this Metroid YouTuber called the Orpheon, and whenever Crocomire appears, there's this voice. That's hilarious as shit. But, you know, maybe I'll put his channel in the description in case you guys want to check it out. Like, yeah, should write it down here because I ain't rewatching this video completely just to check everything I said because god damn, that would be a lot. The Orpheon. Okay, just for you, for me to put in the description of this video. So yeah, Crocomire, we don't kill him directly. We kill him thanks to some bullshit, some lava, and it's interesting. I remember hearing that in an interview, because Super Metroid came out around the time that the ESRB came out, which is the American video game rating system for video games. Redundancy is very redundant, yes. And that came out in 1994 after stuff like Night Trap and Mortal Kombat came out and showed that video games were getting violent and more mature. Yoshihiro Sakamoto said that he wasn't worried about the ESRB impacting the game, and I think the game's original rating was kids to adults or E for everyone, so wasn't a big deal. But the fact that it included like more gruesome and seems like that, like fucking Crocomire's skin being melted off, is Jesus Christ. Holy shit, that's meta. There is you know, Nintendo is not known for making like very mature franchises. They're known for friendly stuff like the Mario, the Pokemons, the Animal Crossings. But then you have Metroid that it shows stuff like this. It's interesting because Metroid has always been like either Peggy 7 or Peggy 12 over here. But strangely enough, Other M was Peggy 16, and I always wondered why. Was it being more realistic? I mean, Prime was kind of realistic, I think. I don't remember swear words in Other M. Was there blood? Maybe the PTSD scene? I don't know. I just found it very weird that Other M was actually rated Peggy 16. Speaking of which, I wonder whenever the Prime 4 comes out, what rating it'll have. If it will be the traditional Peggy 12 or if it will be Peggy 16. I mean, knowing Nintendo, it will probably be Peggy 12, but I don't know. It really depends on how much more emotional the story will be. I think some job listings came up for Prime 4 as like that they wanted a more emotional storyline, and I'm looking forward to the story of that game because it seems like with each Prime game, the story has been more and more ambitious. Like with Prime 1, the story was very simple, almost as simple as like Super Metroid. And if you wanted to get more context for the world you were in, that's what the scan visor was for. And then you scan stuff around you and you get more information about the enemies, about the lore, about the Chozo thing, the things that the Chozo left behind. That's how you got more story out of that game. For Prime 2, there were actually big cutscenes with characters talking via text, and it was a bit more ambitious. And Prime 3 had full-on voice acting, and we saw Samus travel through multiple worlds instead of just one. And in Prime 4, it feels like they want to be if not more, at least as ambitious as they were with Prime 3. And I'm very much curious. Where that story's direction is going to be taken. Although, considering we at the time of this recording, we know nada, we know next to nothing about Prime 4. We don't even know how the game is going to look like, so, yeah. It's just a shame, too. Like, it's clear that Nintendo wanted to announce that game early because it was one of those very highly requested games that people wanted. So that's why they announced it all the way back in 2017. But then they had the misfortune of that previous version of Prime 4 looked very poor, and they decided to restart development. Good thing they got Retro Studios back for Prime 4, even if most of the devs have left. There's still some head people in there, so I trust them. Retro Studios has had a solid track record, so there's no reason for me to doubt them. It's just that they some of the key devs are no longer in the company. But but then they restarted in 2019, and we've been waiting since. The only time they've mentioned Prime 4 since was when they announced Metroid Dread. It's like, oh, we heard that you guys are waiting for Metroid Prime 4. While we still don't have news on that title, here's another Metroid game we want to announce. Metroid 5. It's like, oh god! Finally, after 19 years, Metroid Dread. When that appeared, I was in a group chat with some friends. That direct was so good because there was something for everyone. There was Danganronpa Decadence for a friend of mine. There was more on Zelda for another friend of mine, and then there was there was Metroid Dread for me, and Metroid Dread. That's why I don't tend to get games on day one or close to the release date. Normally, I tend to wait, or I'm distracted with other games, and I only get them later. For example, Bloodstained Ritual Tonight. I was distracted with other games. I wouldn't get that one until a year and a half later, in Christmas of 2020. And by the way, I really enjoyed that one. I'm very curious when that sequel will come out. I think they've announced the sequel. It's just that I don't think anything has been shown. If they cook up something that's not only good but a bit more original, I'm all in for it. I'm all for it. I want solid game. I really like it. I really like solid games. They're very good. But with Metroid Dread, I was so excited for it that I wanted to get it. I was originally not planning on getting day one. I didn't get day one. But there was a promotion at one of the stores here in Portugal that sells video games. By the way, it's rare to get dedicated game stores here in Portugal. So normally you have to rely on some other stores that sell games and other stuff like computers, general electronics, stuff like that. And they were doing discounts on the first week, which was interesting. I was like, I guess it was a temporary discount sale. All right, so instead of paying $60, I bought like for $45, and I was like, yeah, no, okay, I'm gonna get it. And I had a lot of fun with Metroid Dread. God damn it, they kept the morph ball away from you for so long. Metroid Dread was filled with a lot of memorable moments. I just wish that the soundtrack was a bit more memorable. It wasn't bad. It definitely did its job. But again, like I said earlier, I find Super Metroid, and therefore other Metroid games with soundtrack more memorable. Like Metroid 1, Samus Returns, Fusion, Zero Mission, Prime. I'm not gonna comment on Prime 2. Prime Hunters, okay, that's forgettable. So no, Prime Hunters does not count. Fuck it. Metro Other M, even though it didn't have much music, probably has a more memorable soundtrack than Dread. Okay, this is an exaggeration because there were a few songs from Dread that I really enjoy, but that I remembered. But it could have been better. It's just a small gripe that I have with an otherwise fantastic game. Besides that, other games I've gotten on day one. I got Prime Remastered on day one. That was like a very quick decision that I made. Is like, you know what? Yeah, fuck it. This game is being sold for like $40 instead of the usual $60. Yeah, let me get the physical copy of it, and so I did. Sonic Frontiers I also got on day one because I was that was a game with a very tumultuous marketing, very tumultuous hype cycle because, well, for one, the game didn't look very hype at the beginning, and people were just like, oh, this is gonna suck, and then the game came out and I was like, oh, this game is actually pretty decent. I've overall enjoyed my time with Sonic Frontiers. It's not perfect, it's definitely got its flaws, but the thing that I enjoyed the most about it is not only the freedom that I have with what I want to tackle, and not coming at the cost of a good story, because even though I love Breath of the Wild did have its freedom at the cost of its story being very simple. and a lot of it just taking place in the past and not present day, because you can skip everything in the story. Really, after you complete the Great Plateau, you could immediately go to Ganon and fuck your shit up. So yeah, but Sonic Frontiers is not. Yeah, Sonic Frontiers is more of a Mario Odyssey than a Breath of the Wild, but you could still notice the Breath of the Wild inspiration. But then I played Sonic Frontiers. I started getting day one, and I was like, this game is great, and I'm enjoying its updates. The first one, while relatively simple, did bring some quality of life improvements that I very much appreciate. And now we're just waiting on the second one, which will probably come out in June. And then the third one with the actual playable characters, which we haven't seen other playable characters in this 3D Sonic game since Sonic 6. Oh god, it's been so long since we played Tails, Knuckles, and Amy in a 3D Sonic game. Now, how would they look like? I have no idea. But I hope I can explore the islands with them. But besides that, I remember I got Deltarune Chapter 1, Day 1, but that was a free game, and I could easily pre-order it, so I was like, how much does it count? I'm not sure. I had a fun time with that one. Definitely a game I don't want to talk much about, because it's one of those games that it's best to experience for yourself, and without, like, being spoiled on anything. It's a short one too, although it's only the first chapter in a long-running series, so I think chapters 3 through 5 will be released in together, which is nice, since the game will supposedly have 7 chapters, but they will be paid, which makes sense. I mean, chapter 2 was supposed to be paid, but because of the COVID situation, Toby Fox decided to throw us a bone and be like, you guys get it for free. Besides that, yeah, I've been talking for a little while. my voice is. Good thing I have these water bottles too. Besides that, I don't think I've gotten any other game in day one. A lot of these games I normally get late. For example, a game that a lot of people were talking about, Breath of the Wild. Well, first of all, even though I already had a Wii U, I wouldn't get the game until what? Till 2019. I wouldn't get a Switch till 2018. And I wouldn't get the game until 2019, which I decided to purposely wait till I got my Switch to get the Switch version of the game. So, portability and stuff. And it helped me a lot, because during my first Breath of the Wild my only one technically, the portability really came in handy. Even with my Switch being of an older model, which only has like 3 hours of battery life with that game, it was really fun. It was really fun exploring everywhere and going through all the shrines and exploring as much of the map as I could. I actually have gone back to Breath of the Wild recently, mainly in preparation to Tears of the Kingdom, just taking care of some stuff, like the DLC. Because the DLC, I never actually got the DLC for Breath of the Wild, so I was like, okay, might as well. It's been years, Tears of the Kingdom's coming out, so why not? Experienced the Champion's Ballad and then got some of the DLC outfits, including that so tacky Nintendo Switch shirts. Like, that looks so out of place, I love it. And yeah, there's still parts of the world that because of how big it is, it's very hard to memorize like everything in the world. Unless you've been playing for like over 500 hours or something like that. I think I've only played for like 70, and a lot of it comes from the amount of time I played during my initial run for the game in 2019, which was very fun. Yeah, like getting Breath of the Wild and Sonic Mania Plus on the same day. That was good. The early Nintendo Switch days. There was a lot to look forward to. And the DLC as well, yeah. That was the DLC for, not Breath of the Wild, but DLC for Smash Bros. Ultimate. Like, I I don't really talk much about Smash Bros nowadays since I'm kind of burned out. I may play if like people want to play some matches with me. I'm not against it. I'm completely fine with it. It's still a fun game to play. It's just that Smash Bros is really one of those games I don't want to talk about anymore because the DLC went for a long time. It was really exciting, but now that it's over, it's like, yeah, I want to take a break. Like, by the end of it, I was getting a bit tired. Just because fanbase is really toxic, to no one's shock. And it's just too much, you know? And the thing is that they added a lot of characters, which is great. Like, I love the characters they added, but they could have added a few more modes and stuff like that. Like a simple boss rush. No, Sephiroth's classic mode is not enough to suffice because it only makes me play as Sephiroth. I can't do a boss rush with other characters. That's yeah. And they never do it, even though it would be very easy to do. I say it would be very easy to do. And or something like break the targets or border platforms. It would be difficult to make it for every character, but at least like give us an option to get to like Brawl, where the break the target stage was the same for everyone. It was just separated into 5 different stages of different difficulty levels. Do that, and then allows the option to create our own break the target stages. That would be nice, but they never did it. And then after the last character came out, they only updated the game like a couple of times, and then they just pissed off. And with a fighting game like that, I feel like you need to update it more because I think the competitive scene itself is dying, and I don't really follow the competitive scene. Like I've really out of touch with that, but I think the game is kind of dying on that, especially because Steve is being very OP. So, but as I said, I'm kind of tired of Smash and not really in the mood to really discuss much of it. I mean, I'm completely fine with it, or maybe like a Smash Brothers with other franchises, like a Sega Smash Brothers. Me and a friend of mine were actually doing a sort of putting ideas for that. We still have to finish that. I got a contact in here, and I died. I'm very disappointed in myself. But as I was saying, yeah, I say Smash Brothers or a Smash Brothers with characters from other companies, stuff like that. I'm open for discussion. Just that, yeah, I'm not really talking about it. There's been some other platform fighters that have been coming out, like Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl or Multiversus, and those ones were, from what I've heard, they're alright games, but they lack in content. And with Multiversus, they decided to shut down its beta, and because the game had some microtransactions, basically the people who had spent time on it are basically robbed. at least from what I understand of the situation. Because what's the point of wasting money for the beta if they're just gonna shut it down and then relaunch the game later with a more complete version? Yeah, I don't know. But I don't have the. I mean, I could play Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl, but that game never really grabbed me. I watched some Nickelodeon shows here and there, but I never really grew up much with Nickelodeon. What did I watch? I watched some Fairly Odd Parents. And even then, I actually got tired of the show. That was back when I used to watch television anyway. SpongeBob, I mean, no, I have more fond memories of SpongeBob now because of the memes and the many jokes that the show has. Which is, the writing of that show is great. At least in some episodes. What else? I think I caught some of the live action shows like iCarly. iCarly was definitely a show that I grew up with. Yeah, and that was fun. I remember enjoying that one. I think I caught a bit of Victorious. Didn't watch it as much as iCarly though. And there may have been some other series that I caught, but after a while I just got it. After a while I just stopped watching television. Because television as a whole doesn't really interest me. I only really watch it for news nowadays. And maybe the occasional show here and there. So yeah, Nickelodeon was not really gonna attract me much. So, but I could get into it from a gameplay standpoint, but the content, I don't think we have had a content update from that for that game since like the middle of last year. And is it safe to assume the game is dead? Or wait a minute, is it getting a sequel? I don't know. Honestly, I haven't been keeping up with Smash clones and all that stuff. I've just been in my own little corner playing my Beto jams and then occasionally saying "Hooba Dooba," Hooba. God, I could talk about this video. Yeah, screw it. Yeah, let's talk. So, okay, the Hooba Dooba comes from a series of videos made by one Bellina Productions, Stephen Page is his name, called Sonic Zombie, which initially was made as a parody of bad Garry's Mod Sonic animations on YouTube. It eventually became way more popular than Steve had envisions, and then he made some entries of that series for a while until he decided to stop the series entirely, mainly because a lot of his fan base kind of got split into two, like the fans that only cared about Sonic Zombie and the fans that cared about his other content as well, which was how he started. So I don't blame his decision, but man, Sonic Zombie was so memorable. It is definitely a part of its time in some areas, but it has so many memorable moments. You could say that the main, like, every character is a stereotype. There's Sonic, the douchebag American. There's Tails, the deported Mexican. God. There's Shadow, the Russian gun-ho. There's Cream, the Schwarzenegger. There's Amy, the perverted whore. There's Rouge, the what would I call her? Like the fashionista? No, the rich girl, I guess. There's Knuckles, the Eddie Murphy Knuckles, and his companion Shrek that appears here and there. I told you be fine, donkey. And then there's Eggman. It's watch out! It was dumb. It was incredibly dumb, and in terms of plot, sometimes it made no sense. But it was such a fun ride. The videos are still available on YouTube. I think they've been cut a bit because of just to avoid demonetization, which is a bit sad, but oh well. But check them out if you're curious. They definitely shaped part of my childhood, and then I showed them off to some friends of mine recently, and they also had a lot of fun with it. So much so that in my Discord server, we made an emoji specifically called Hooba Dooba. We even put a sound clip on the soundboard that you can use whenever we feel like it during VCs. It is quite something. A Hooba Dooba. But going back to the game. So this is a section in the game we're doing a bit of cleanup, not all of it, but since now we're might as well prepare myself for the wreck ship, because the next boss we're gonna fight is a bit more dangerous, so might as well come prepared with a few tanks. This section right here, it requires me to use a wall jump, so you don't need to get to know the wall jump to get to 100%, except in this area. So if you don't know the wall jump at this point, practice it. Practice it a bit, and you only need to use it there. But for someone like me, it's not much of a hassle. Although it kind of sucks whenever I'm like doing a perfect streak of wall jumps, and then I screw up once and I fall all the way down. Not pleasant. Here's another one of the animals, the coon, I think that's his name. Yeah. Basically, he teaches us about the Shine Spark, which basically how it works is with the Speed Booster ability. After you hold down the run button, and after a while you go to Speed Booster. You can press down on the D-pad to store the charge, and with that, you can go into Shine Spark. You can go either up, diagonally, or horizontally. Up is easy. Diagonally, I can easily aim diagonally with one of the shoulder buttons and go diagonally. Horizontally, though, that's a bit of a pain in this game. You can tell that this was the first game to introduce something like this, because Speed Booster was introduced in this game. Yeah, what this game introduced? It was like the Speed Booster, the Charge Beam, which the Charge Beam is very useful for boss fights. And early on in the game, if you charge your beam, but you don't fire it yet, and you jump, you get like a pseudo screw attack, which is good to taking out small enemies. So that's nice. But besides that, a lot of items come back from Metroid 2. In the one, there's like the Ice Beam and Wave Beam from Metroid 1. There's a Spacer and Plasma Beam from Metroid 2. Alongside the Screw Attack from Metroid 1, the Space Jump from Metroid 2, the Spring Ball from Metroid 2. There's probably an item I'm missing, but there's a lot. Oh, and also reserve things. Super Missiles, Power Bombs that were also introduced in this game. Grappling Beam and X-Ray Scope were also introduced in this game. And I think that's pretty much it. But Super Metroid was a nice evolution of the series because now we have a map that you can see in the top right corner of the screen. Finally, now I don't get lost. I can't get lost. Now I don't have to whip out guides. Now I can just easily see this map and see what areas I haven't explored yet, which is very convenient. Alongside that, Super Metroid is just pleasing to look at. Like, it actually has backgrounds this time, the music is way more advanced, and the game is just simply bigger and better. And when it comes to that, it's like, yeah, it was a nice evolution of the series. Yeah, my voice is running a bit dry, but don't worry. So, now we're on our way to the right ship, which is to the right of Zebes. Might as well just go to the ship and recharge. You know, the ship is the only way you can recharge super missiles and power bombs automatically. Because outside of that, the only way you can recharge them is via enemy drops. Because the missile recharge stations in this game only recharge your missiles. And which is funny because the missiles tend to be that after I get the super missiles and the power bombs, I don't really use missiles a whole lot. Yeah, and then there's the recharge stations. The right ship is an interesting place because I think it was it's brand new to this game. So Zebes in this game is massively different from the Zebes you explored in Metroid 1. Like there's Brinstar, there's Norfair, there's a new Torian entity in the game, but they all look so radically different from how they looked in their NES, on the NES. And you can even explore the outside region of Zebes this time with this area called Corteria and technically the wrecked ship. There's also a new area of the game called Meridia, which I talked about earlier, which is most of it is underwater. So, but when you go underwater, you are slow. So, maybe we need a sort of upgrades for that. By the way, I've been noticing that sometimes the audio kind of drops. If it does, then my apologies if some of the audio is missing. If it's not, then ignore everything I just said. Bonk your head on the table and forget and have a short-term memory loss. Yes. Another thing about the wrecked ship is that in Metroid Zero Mission, the remake to Metroid 1, there's a place close to Criteria that kind of looks like the wrecked ship. I think fans theorized for many years that Chozodia, especially the Space Pirates' home ship, was the wrecked ship before it went kaplooey and became this. But supposedly, no, it's not, according to Sakamoto, which Yoshi Sakamoto is pretty much the head honcho behind the Metroid series nowadays. He was the director of this game, or no, was he the director? Not sure. We'll find out in the credits. But I think he was a writer of this game. And he's pretty much with the Metroid series ever since. And Yoshi Sakamoto said that no, they're not the same, which is Bit weird, but okay. I think there's a part in criteria that in Zero Mission that is the right ship, but I'm not sure. Consult a wiki. I may know a lot about the series, but I don't know everything. So okay, somebody called the Ghostbusters because we are fighting a ghost. Nah, Sims could take him down easily. This is Phantoon, which is interesting. I find Phantoon interesting as a boss because one, he's a ghost, and we technically make him explode, which is that in itself is already kind of funky. And second of all, his eye is in between his mouth, so his teeth are around his eye, and it must be pretty painful for him. Jesus Christ! Unless he doesn't feel it. Just because we can't feel the ghost doesn't mean that the ghost himself can't feel himself. Maybe I'm questioning too much on this. But with Phantoon, I have a strategy to turn off the ice beam because the beams stack in this game, but you can actually turn any of them off whenever you please by going to the pause menu. And I recommend removing the ice beam because if you hit him with the ice beam, it does a very annoying attack that deals a lot of damage. So yeah, might as well do that. But the charge beam is really useful for boss fights, I say. Phantoon himself is a boss that I find it in another way interesting. I'm being pretty redundant. This is what happens when I make my commentary unscripted as all get out. Because he only came back one more time after this in Other M of all games as the final boss, which is interesting. But okay, sure, Phantoon, he's cool, I guess. But sometimes I kind of forget about the dude. It is what it is. By beating Phantoon, you turn the lights and the electricity back on the wrecked ship, allowing you to progress through the doors. Which is, again, the wrecked ship is an interesting area. It's not the biggest. I feel like Meridia may be the biggest area out of all of them. Unless you combine Brinstar, the jungle part of Brinstar, with the red part of Brinstar, maybe Brinstar would be the biggest. I mean, with Norfair, if you combine, the Ridley portion as well, maybe? I'm not sure, but Meridia is pretty big, and sometimes I get worried that I don't get every item in Meridia, but I end up getting it all, so... I guess I get worried for nothing, but considering that I always want to go for 100% whenever I play Super Metroid, I don't want to get that fabled 99%. I'm even power bombing in some areas that I don't need to in the wrecked ship just to make sure that I get everything. And by the way, spoiler alert, I missed an item, and I had to go back after I got the major upgrade from this area. But the wrecked ship is an interesting area, I think. Not the biggest one, but pretty cool. So I guess in this game we have Brinstar, we have Norfair, we have Criteria, we have Meridia, we have wrecked ship, we have I guess the Great area, but that's very small. The Ridley area, which is a bit more substantial, and the Newtorian, which is the final area. I'm surprised that, I've been able to talk for like a whole hour. This is 2 hours and a half. Jesus. This will definitely take a long time, man. Sometimes I know, even though this is the first time I'm doing a commentary like this. Yeah, this is the first time I'm doing a commentary like this, so because I'm not with anybody else, I'm by myself. I'm worried that I may not have enough discussion for all the commentary, and there might be some dead air in the middle, but might as well not worry too much about it. I mean, it is my first time, and honestly, at the end of the day, I just want to... I just made this just to get some... at least a video out, and also to showcase you guys one of my favorite games of all time. If you're not here for the commentary, then you can use this as a gameplay guide. I mean, there's so many guides of Super Metroids that I'm not sure if mine is the best one, but probably not. But hope I hope you guys enjoy this. That's all. That's all I'm wishing. Okay, so this area, I could have gotten it with after I gotten the major upgrade of this area, but I'm like, I might as well get it early. And I normally turn off the eye jump boots for this because it makes jumps quite difficult in some areas. Like the high jump boots is a good upgrade. It allows you to jump higher. Very simple. But when you're going on very tiny platforms and you want to make precise jumps, sometimes it's not the best. So being able to turn off items in this game is actually pretty cool. Although I don't think any other Metroid game ever would allow you to turn on and turn off items that you please. Starting with Fusion, all the items would be stacked. I mean, there's Metroid Prime where its beams, the wave beam, the power beam, the ice beam, and the plasma beam are all separate, which is kind of harkening back to the first Metroid. Instead, but you get them all at your disposal. You don't have to backtrack to get them. But it's very interesting how the beams are actually separate in that game. And in Prime 2 as well. But it's the power beam, the light beam, the dark beam, and the annihilator beam. Annihilator, I love that beam. But in Prime 3 they decided to stack them all up. And I'm like, yeah, might as well. It's for the buzz. I mean, even though I like that you can turn off items in this game, I also don't mind that you can't turn off items in future games, because normally the games are well designed around this. Around you just constantly upgrading yourself. I mean, if in like my earliest playthroughs of this game, I normally did not turn off items. The only now I do in some areas just to ease up on some sections of the game, and that's it. I think later in the game when we get the plasma beam, the spacer and the plasma beam cannot coexist. So it cannot stack together. So when I get the plasma beam, the spacer is turned off. But if I ever want the spacer again, I go to the menu and turn it on. Simple. I do, when I was younger, I always found it weird that the spacer and the plasma beam could not stack together. But then I realized, well, the spacer is all about shooting two-shot. The spacer shoots 3 beams. The plasma beam shoots 2. So, what would happen if you stacked the spacer and the plasma beam? Would you get like 5 shots? 6? Multiplication? Just 3. I don't know. You imagine, I guess it would be a bit broken if you had like 3 shots from the spacer, but the same power as the plasma beam. And the plasma beam goes through enemies as well, so that's another layer of OPness. So, that is a lot to consider. So, no wonder they turned it off. I think later games would rename the spacer to the wide beam, and would balance this out better. Yeah, I do find it interesting that the plasma beam goes through enemies, but the wave beam goes through walls. And there's like, why did you make it the same beam? I don't know, but having a beam that goes through walls is pretty handy. But sure, like your wall is separating you. You want to fight an enemy, but instead of going close to it, you use the wave beam and you shoot through the wall, and bam, you kill it. Very simple, but very intuitive and very easy to get a handle on. Really, a lot of the upgrades in Metroid are just very useful in general. That's probably another one of the reasons why why the Metroid series as a whole, the constant feeling of getting stronger and stronger is good, because the upgrades you get are very useful in themselves. Even if they're not exactly what you were thinking of right then and there, they allow you to grow more and more powerful over the course of the game, and that feeling of getting increasingly more and more powerful, and then revisiting older areas with those upgrades and tearing shit up is really satisfying. It's very basic, but it works, and that's the premise for a lot of Metroidvanias. Another game that I really love, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, was also adopted a lot of those ideas. Koji Igarashi says that it was based on Zelda, and I don't think he's lying. It's also like Metroid was already kind of a mix between the platforming of Mario and the exploration of Zelda. So when Castlevania decides to, oh, we're gonna mix the side scrolling of the previous Castlevania games and the exploration of Zelda, like, I'm surprised it didn't think of Metroid. I know Metroid is not as popular in Japan as it is in the West, but there's some fans out there, or you would at least would know of the series. You know, in retrospect, probably the main reason why Metroid did not become as popular as Mario or Zelda is probably because its sci-fi nature. From what I've seemed to get, that even though sci-fi is popular, it's not as popular as a genre of like a setting as other stuff like fantasy, you know, fantasy medieval, which that definitely got popular over the years, especially with Lord of the Rings. I gotta watch this movie someday. And also, Metroid being a series that you can easily get lost. Yeah. Fortunately, newer games are remedying this problem by giving you some guides here and there, while not sacrificing the non-linearity of many Metroid games. It is admittedly something that new players have to get used to, and if you do not get used to, if it's not your kind of thing, then Metroid is not for you. I'm just so happy that Metroid Dread sold as much as it did, as it's, well, the last time they updated the figures, it was 2.9, but it's probably past 3 million copies at this point, and that makes it the highest selling Metroid game. And now I'm very curious what the sales numbers for Prime Remaster will be, and if something like Metroid Prime 4 can surpass it. Although, being an FPS may limit the audience in some ways. I'm not sure, honestly. FPSs were really popular for a time, and it's probably why Metroid Prime 3 sold well. Not as well as Prime 1, but it's still decently. But nowadays, the genre that's the most popular is like open world. We saw with Breath of the Wild, Elden Ring, Genshin Impact to a certain point, to a certain extent. So it's definitely, so FPS's moments have definitely passed. Even if there's still some well played, some very much played. Fuck, what's the term? I'm getting a brain fart. Even if there's like some FPSs that are still very popular, like Call of Duty, I don't think the genre is as popular as it used to be. But for example, Call of Duty seems to get is pretty repetitious, and I'm not sure what the fate of that series is. Although it seems to be going, and people still buy it, so okay, sure. Then there's like Halo, which I've heard that Halo Infinite, while kind of, especially its multiplayer, was not really the best, so it's not news for Halo fans. I'd like to play that series one day. There was a rumor of the Master Chief Collection coming to Switch, but unlike other rumors, that rumor eventually just disappeared, and I'm like, oh, that is legitimately one of the games I actually wanted to try out from Xbox, and I've never had an Xbox. I guess if I ever want to try out the series, I'll buy an Xbox, but I don't see myself buying an Xbox anytime soon. I think I much quicker buy a PS5 because I skipped the PS4, and there's a lot of games on the PS4 that I now want to play. I much quicker get a PS5 than a PS4. But yeah. We got the gravity suit, yeah. We just I got on this tangent and we completely skipped bypass it. The gravity suit allows you to walk freely underwater and also reduces your defense even more. You can also walk on acid, although that is not clear until you're on your way to Ridley. Actually, no. But I mean, people have done Ridley first. Okay, what I was thinking was if you could get to Ridley before you go to Meridia. But Meridia you get space jump, so in the normal routes, no. You normally go to Meridia, take care of that boss, and then you go to Ridley and take care of Ridley. Yeah, that was redundant, but it's the Ridley area, and then you beat Ridley the boss. But there have been speedrunners who have done a reverse boss order, and because of that acid and you not having the gravity suit yet, because you need to beat, I think you need to beat Fantoon. You need to beat Fantoon to turn the lights back, to the electricity back on for you to be able to get the gravity suit. So there's that. You have to take a lot of damage to be able to go to Ridley first, and it is pretty difficult. I'm very much impressed by speedrunners who are able to do that. Another thing. Super Metroid, I've mentioned speedruns a lot, and for good reason. Super Metroid is one of the most popular games to speedrun. I'm not a professional speedrunner myself. I'll never be, honestly. Doing speedruns is not really my thing. But watching them, I like to watch them every once in a while. With Super Metroid, maybe I've watched like a Breath of the Wild speedrun here and there. I've watched like a Super Mario 64 speedruns. That's how I got introduced to that game. And I thought that the backwards long jump was an actual thing, intentional thing, but no, it wasn't. Super Mario 64. I have a lot of memories with that game. That's a story for another day. Or maybe later. I don't know. It depends on how much stuff I run out to say in this playthrough, in this commentary. But yeah, this was me kind of realizing that okay, no, we go to Meridia, and Meridia, the main way to go to Meridia is like to the right of the wrecked ship, and then you go around. But I never use that entrance. I always use the entrance that a lot of people use, which is in the middle of the red soil blue star. You get to a passageway, and the middle of that passageway can actually be power bombed, and the window will break, and you can go through. And you go to another part of Meridia. It's pretty useful, and I'll always use it. We'll see in a bit. Okay. It's right here. Let's see. Now we use the power bomb, and kaboom! For some reason, the sound effect for the glass breaking did not play, but yeah, that is a very, very, very convenient way to get to Criteria, Meridia. When I played this game for my friends, there was a friend of mine was jokingly saying Meridia. Just cut out a syllable and say Meridia instead of Meridia. But folks, welcome to Meridia. This place is mostly underwater, so that's why we need a gravity suit for this. And sometimes, nowadays I don't get lost in this area, but I am always afraid that I may be missing an item here and there. And if I ever do a playthrough of Super Metroid and I miss an item here, that would suck. First business. Woo! Shine Spark. There was a plant down there that give you a guide for where you need to Shine Spark exactly. And no, that was very smart on developers. To give you a guideline. I think it's the only time in the game where you have to Shine Spark. Compared to future Metro games, this is a bit of a godsend, because boy oh boy, Fusion and Metro Zero Mission love those Shine Spark puzzles, and they can be very annoying. Dread also uses Shine Spark puzzles too, but I didn't find it nearly as bad. They felt a bit more intuitive, and they weren't as nearly as much, just some. Although one of them was a bit of a pain in the ass. I have the mental image for it, but I don't remember the name of the area. It was like a temple area where you had to speed boost, go into morph ball modes, and then go up in morph ball modes. It is much easier to do a morph ball Shine Spark, which that technique was introduced in Zero Mission, than in Zero Mission, but the timing, it was very, very picky. Hey, some people have also done it with like speed boosting and then doing a slide under it. Seems kind of difficult, but maybe one day I'll try it out. if whenever I play Dread again. Dread is much bigger than other Metroid games, which is why I've replayed Super Metroid and way more, because it's just a shorter game in general. I mean, as you can see by this commentary, it's only two and a half hours. Of course, for first timers, you would definitely take a whole lot longer than that. You know, trying to figure out the controls, the level design, knowing where to go. But for an experienced player like me, yeah. And this is my fastest run. Like, I got a good in-game clear timer, and yeah. Now I know a lot about this game. Just, you know, just it's a nice warm feeling. You know, when you've played the game a lot, you just start to know all the stuff, and you still have fun replaying it. Like that is good. Honestly, another question for the comments: what are some of your favorite games to replay? It doesn't even need to be one of your favorite games of all time. Just a game that you really like to replay, where it's short or it's really fun or something like that. Very, very, very curious on the responses. For me, Super Metroid has become that as of late, since I went a few years without playing Super Metroid, and now this is like my 4th playthrough of the game. All because I had this idea about doing the commentary. So like the first one was new for DS. Then it was Wii U, which was a bit of a test run for the playthrough I was gonna do for my friends. And that was my 3rd time, which I played on the emulator, just like I'm playing now. And the 4th one was for this commentary. And I've just gotten better and better and better at the game. It's just really nice. Another game I used to replay a lot that now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I'll replay some. Ratchet & Clank Quest for Booty. It's one of the shorter Ratchet & Clank games, and that's probably the reason why I replay it. Because while the game is very linear and playthroughs don't look that much different, its short length made it so when I was a kid I would replay the game a lot. That was actually my first Ratchet & Clank game, and I think the first ever free platformer I ever played. So the game does have a special place in my heart, even if it's not one of my favorite games of all time. That honor goes to its sequel, Crack in Time. I love A Crack in Time. That masterpiece. Oh, near masterpiece. I guess its soundtrack could have been a bit better, since a lot of it is atmospheric pieces. But when you go into the space sections, and you hear that, you can turn on the radio and listen to any kind of song, whether that be rock or jazz. That is some good stuff. Although, I don't think it's necessarily original. I think that's maybe like public domain music. Not sure. But it fits the vibe. Like, There's also like one for opera, I guess. There were 4 radios you could select while you're on your ship in that game. That's something that I kind of wish they bring back in the future. I'm not sure if Rift Apart did something like that. I haven't played that one yet, mainly because of lack of PS5. But I really like that about Crack in Time. Shine Spark. Shine Sparking is just very fun. Although, whenever you use it, it does cost health. It's because of that. The last time I died, because I was close to running out of health, and then when I did the section to get that E-tank, I died. Thankfully, when you're doing the Shine Spark, Samus does not die. Like, if you're close to... if your health is almost over, Samus will stop the Shine Spark. So, yeah, that's good. Not sure if you have a reserve tank that changes anything, but at least that's, which is nice. Future games would make it so you don't lose health whenever you Shine Spark. So, Maria. Now, there's 2 sections of Maria, and this one is a bit more mysterious. Okay, so one thing I want to... I guess the sound effects for my controller connecting and disconnecting were kept. That was weird, because my controller didn't actually connect and disconnect, but for some reason that happens. Maybe it was something else, but I don't know what that could be. I always forget the name of this boss, but normally this boss I have no trouble beating, But this one was being a bit of a pain for now. Like I had a good run with Crate. I had a good run with Crockmire. Phantom was okay. But when I got to this asshole, he's just like, no, Samus, you can't beat me. Fuck. But there you go, beaten. I wasted all my super missiles, but hey, mission accomplished, I guess. That tends to be, I think out of all the bosses, the mini bosses, that's like the one I forget the most. Mainly because he isn't much of a hassle. And if you get lucky, and he gets busy just shooting fireballs at you, you can just anger yourself and spam a bunch of super missiles at his face. That is very satisfying. Another energy tank. Man, every item you pick up in this game always plays the same song. This would be the last Metroid game to do something like this, and only do it for the major items. So whenever you get like small missile upgrades or energy tanks, it would only play like a smaller tune, which is for the best, but... This reminds me of a moment of a Super Metroid speedrun it was like a competitive speedrun. See, it was like between 4 speedrunners to see who could beat the game the fastest. And it was at AGDQ 2017. AGDQ is standing for Awesome Games Done Quick. Basically, an event done for charity where speedrunners participate to beat games as fast as possible. And you know, there's a crowd watching. There's the speedruns going on, and because of how much that tune plays, there were some guys in the audience that, just to have fun, whenever the item pickup song would appear, they would sing with the Waluigi wah. So they would do something like wah 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 wah. Well timed. That was well timed too. And then after a while, they just said wah wah wah, and then the guy just shouted wah, and then a lot of the audience laughed. But there was this guy who was kind of butthurt and basically indirectly told them to go kill themselves. And man, that was edgy. You can easily, I think, you know, I'll put it in the description of this video, that clip, because it needs to be seen to be believed. To believe, like that was really funny. Because how, like, yeah, you can't take a joke. Yeah, like one could argue that maybe the wins were getting kind of annoying. But when the whole audience, when the majority of the audience laughs and claps for it, you might as well just suck it up. You know? I don't know. At least that's my opinion on it. Here's the third major boss of the game, Dragon. You're normally supposed to shoot missiles into its belly, but, you know, there's a faster way to do this, and, bye-bye. It damages you, but it damages her. And I think it's a she, because she's the baby's mom. I don't know. Do dragons reproduce asexually? Rhino Dino, truly asking the bigger questions in life. Yeah, there's also a third way to defeat that boss, but it's very hard. So, this game introduced the speed booster, and I'm not sure how to do this, but you can do, after you hold the run button, after a while you get the speed booster. But there's a way to get the speed booster in like with a smaller space in a short amount of time, that's called a short charge speed booster. You can, to get the Shine Spark early. With that, you could Shine Spark into Dragon's belly and kill it in like 1 or 2 shots. That is very impressive. Speedrunners do that. I have no idea how to do it. I don't know how to do that short form Shine Spark, and gotta be honest, I don't care, because I really like the grappling beam strategy because it's more trollish. Like the speed booster strategy, that's badass. But the grappling beam strategy, that's funny. Especially when I showed this off to my friends. This game to my friends. Like, a friend of mine was like, oh, this boss took me so long, this was so annoying. And then I just do that, and he's like, wow, you beat it so fast. That was a very fun moment. But now with Marie, well, Marie is not done yet. There's still a few upgrades I need to get. Yeah, a lot of, like, the main boss of this area is done. And we got the space jump. Basically, if you you are able to do infinite jumps if you jump in a rhythmic sort of way. Although I gotta be honest, in this game, the space jump kind of screwed me over a few times. Not much, especially when it comes to going horizontally. When going vertically, sometimes I'm like trying to press it rhythmically and it still doesn't work. And I'm like, come on, guys. Hey. Water. The space jump is useful. Thankfully, a lot of those moments with the space jump do not occur in the game. More in Meridia, actually, after I get it. Thankfully, you can turn it if you ever want to, you can turn off space jump. Although I never do because why not? You still get the wall jump. Although now with the space jump, I don't have to worry about wall jumping as much. Although I think I still do wall jump here and there during this playthrough. So there's an upgrade coming up, and it's the mythical. Yeah, mystical. Even though okay, I gotta say, English ain't my first language. I know that it was kind of obvious when I mentioned I'm from Portugal, but in case people forgotten already, I'm not English. Plasma beam, and it turns the room's lights on. Click, unclick. And yeah, the plasma beam does short work of these guys. Like, it goes through enemies, and overall it's just very useful. And you know, I've seen some speedruns in this game where, thanks to some sequence breaking, they're able to take care of Crocomire last, because normally you get to Crocomire to get the grappling beam. But you know, people have found ways to get power bombs in other ways, and then they go take care of Crocomire at the end to get the plasma beam for the grappling beam for 100% completion. The thing is that with a charged plasma beam, on his mouth, he goes back so much that he basically kills himself. Holy shit! When I saw that in a speedrun a while back, I was just like dead face, like holy crap. Especially because there's like a ROM hack for this game called Super Metroid Multi-Roids, or Multi-Troids, that basically allows you to do co-op. So how that co-op works is that your energy is shared, but any items you pick up are also shared. So, for example, one player can every time a time sequence is activated, it does for everybody. So everybody has to worry about getting back to the ship as soon as possible. But it leads to some very interesting speedruns, because with that, I've seen speedruns of guys taking care of both Crate and Phantoon at the same time, which is amazing to me. And then the Crocomire bit where, yeah, the charged plasma beam screws his ass. But then at the end, to optimize on time as much as possible, one of the guys has to activate a countdown sequence near the end of the game, and the other two have to basically clean up as fast as possible and get back to the ship as quickly as possible afterwards. Because they're professional speedrunners, I mean, they can do it, but it leaves this sort of tension. It's like, oh, I can't go back just yet. I have to get the rest of the items so we can get 100%. You know, if you're doing 100% run. If you're not, then I don't think you'd have to worry about it. But yeah, that is, you know, one day I would like to play that ROM hack with somebody, just to try it out. Although I don't have any friends who know Super Metroids as well as I do, but I could show them ropes. So here's this fella. This guy does not hurt you unless you touch him, and I think he was gonna have an attack, but it was dummied out. So that guy is pretty much friendly. All to get the spring ball. What is a spring ball, you may ask? You basically are able to jump in morph ball modes. Kind of surprising it took this long for us to get it, but hey, the better late than never, I guess. It's a very super power. You gotta, like, when I played Metroid 2, I was kind of shocked that you got it way earlier, so it only makes me like, why do I get it so late in Super Metroid? Oh well. Besides that, yeah, with the Plasma Beam and the Spring Ball, we're pretty much done with the major items in this area, which were the Space Jump, Plasma Beam, and Spring Ball. But now, it's time for some cleanup of this area. And there's a part of Meridia where you have to backtrack twice just to get some separate items. And, it's a bit of a pain, but we manage, I guess. It's just, okay, I went here, I went for the quicksand, but now I gotta backtrack all the way back just so I can go to the other quicksand area and get these other items as well. A bit of a pace breaker. So actually, in those co-op speedruns, do they? I forgot. Do they treat us separately or not? Since you share items, like as soon as you get the gravity suit, as soon as one of the players gets the space jump, one of the other players can just go to Ridley and kill him already. Yeah, and it's just a matter of taking care of cleanup. That is very interesting. But yeah, throughout the rest of this of Meridia, it's pretty much going back to get those items. So there's not much I can say. Besides that, Meridia is an interesting place. I remember like hearing in the SGB review of Super Metroid that some call me Johnny himself said that he's heard of people who can go through Meridia without using the gravity suit at all. And I'm like, wait, really? Because the majority of this area is on the ground, and if you don't have the gravity suit, you will be moving so slowly and probably not be able to make certain jumps. So, honestly, I want to see a run of Super Metroid where they don't get the gravity suit, or at least turn off the gravity suits when they're in Meridia, so I can see how that looks like. It will probably take so long. Here, there.
Senor Sonic, I'm beginning to think that you're backtracking too much.
What caused you to say that, Tails, Hoobaduba?
You see, maybe doing 100% of Super Metroid isn't such a good idea when you're so good at the game.
I want to get a 100%. It's, sometimes I just feel like, doing a little bit of roleplay. It's like, Hoobaduba. Hopefully, when this video goes out, there's no like problems in the editing. In the publish, in like the publish process. Like it will be the first time I upload like video I actually make on the computer. Okay, no, it wouldn't be the first time, but like it would be the first time I upload a video of this size. Really, while editing for this video, I had to figure some things out, like how, for example, like when I record like I recorded this using OBS, and it was relatively straightforward. I just need to turn off my voice because I was gonna add it in later with this commentary. But then I was gonna use my Sony Vegas. It's just Vegas now. Sony's no longer attached to it, so Vegas Pro. To edit, and my file was not compatible. And I tried turning it into an MP4 file, but it didn't work. But then I looked up a way using VLC to be able to convert files so it has the codecs necessary for it to actually be on Sony Vegas. And I still say Sony Vegas. And that helped me with this process. I just hope that this recording isn't fucked or anything. Again, hopefully people enjoy this commentary. And if you don't want to watch it, you can kind of hear it as sort of a podcast. I mean, I comment a lot about the game, but I also go on random tangents, so... this is why I call it a very casual Super Metroid commentary, because, again, this is very casual. I'm not really taking this too seriously. I'm just here, sitting back, relaxing, sharing my thoughts on a game and a series that I very much love, and potentially talking about other things, either related or not related to it. really, it would be pretty dope if I actually did this with other people. But I don't know what other game I could do a commentary on. And the commentaries themselves, and by extension, Let's Plays are not really popular nowadays. But I don't really care. I'm not really monetizing this video, at least for now. Because, well, I can't monetize, I believe. I'm just doing this for fun. Alright, back we go for the other quicksand puddle to get the other items. And then afterwards we can move on. You know, it's very interesting. Metroid is, you know, the Switch era has been very profitable for a lot of series. It even allowed some series to come back. Like, Metroid came back properly here. I mean, it came back with Samus Returns on the 3DS, but that was in 2017 and the Switch was already starting off and already was on its way to replace the 3DS. So, there's that. And then Zelda has been thriving, but that always thrives. Mario, there's a lot of Mario games on the Switch. It took me until, like, at the time of this recording, it took me until very recently for me to actually get Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I already had Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, and that's the main reason why I didn't jump right away to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but now with the DLC tracks, and me and a friend wanting to trade amiibos, yeah, I kind of wanted to get it. And for the bit I've played so far, like, yeah, it's Mario Kart 8. It's as fun as it was back then. Then there's other series, like, for example, Advance Wars got a remake of the first 2 games recently. Honestly, it's not being as marketed as other stuff, so I'm wondering how much that's gonna sell. I mean, hopefully it's enough so that Nintendo can consider bringing back Advance Wars, but I'm not sure. It may be left behind, unfortunately. There's also rumors of F-Zero coming back, which I would be so for that. Like, I'm all for it, but like, considering that F-Zero hasn't gotten a new game or a game period since 2004, I'm kind of cautious of that rumor. If like F-Zero would come back in this year or next year, I'm all for it, and I hope people buy it so that we can potentially get more F-Zero games, and the series can be like a nice alternative to Mario Kart. Like Mario Kart being this very casual racing series, while F-Zero is more hardcore and fast-paced. That would be very nice. Other series, I mean, third parties. Like, Switch actually has competent third parties supports, which is a big thing for Nintendo consoles. I mean, the Wii had some good third party support, but a lot of it was shovelware. And the Wii U, yeah, the Wii U. The GameCube, Nintendo tries, but a lot of the companies just want to go to PS2 instead for a lot of the games. So stuff like Devil May Cry, Final Fantasy, and other series who normally just go to the PlayStation. But there was some good stuff on the Wii. There was Knight's Journey of Dreams, there was Mad World, there was No More Heroes 1 and 2. I've heard good things about Red Steel 2. And there's stuff like Rayman Legends. Rayman Origins. Legends is the one that was supposed to be exclusive to the Wii U, but then they were like, nah, and just made it multi-platform. So there was some decent stuff on the Wii, but there's a lot of shovelware. But now on the Switch, well, it's not getting every major third-party game. It's getting a decent ton, and I very much appreciate that. Of course, Nintendo systems are like, you get them more for first-party support for like the first-party games, for Nintendo games like the Marios, the Zeldas, and other stuff. But it's great to have that option. For example, I can play Nier Automata on my Switch, and I've heard it's a pretty good port. I want to play that game eventually. Other games of other third-party support, really, yeah. it's actually competent for part support. I very much appreciate it. Like, there's some people nowadays that miss the Nintendo from the Wii U era, and I get their points, but honestly, I'm very much satisfied with how Nintendo went with the Switch era. Yes, it's very much a big 180, and the lack of some features like themes is sad, but I'd rather have practicality and games that I can count on being great, and the things I want, especially, because that was the thing that people were complaining about during the Wii U era. The fact that we didn't have a big 3D Mario game on the scale of Galaxy. We had only a 3D Mario game that was more like the 2D games. Even if 3D World was a great game in its own right, it was not what people wanted. Zelda took a long ass time to come out. We didn't have any Metroid games. We didn't have like any Pokemon games, or any big Pokemon spin-offs. Although, did we have a big Pokemon spin-off? I'm not sure, but it probably had more than the Wii U had. I think what the Wii U had in terms of Pokemon was like Rumble U, which probably everybody has forgotten about it, and Pokemon Tournament, which now is the version on Switch. What else? There's a lot of things that the Wii U liked on. There was Donkey Kong. There was a lot of, speaking of that, there was a lot of 2D games during that era. And people wanted more ambitious 3D games. And 3D games are great, but, there was definitely an overabundance of them. Especially in the Mario series, where everything was just kind of becoming generic. So, yeah, in retrospect, I just... the Switch era is not over yet, but it feels like the Switch life cycle feels like it's gonna end sometime. Maybe next year. That's my prediction anyway. It feels like we may start seeing news about that Switch 2 or whatever it's called sometime this year or next year. At least that's what I think. I may be wrong though. And if I'm wrong, okay, give me more Switch stuff. But yeah, like the games we got on the Switch, like, yeah, they're great. Like Super Mario Odyssey, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Metroid Dread, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and 3, alongside a remaster of the first one. I'm a big... yeah, I forgot to say that. I really love Xenoblade Chronicles. That is a series that I don't want to talk about too much because a lot of it is reliant on story, and I don't want to spoil it. I really do not want to spoil that series. But it's not for everybody. It's definitely its own kind of RPG. But if you get into it, ooh boy, I hope you enjoy it. At least give the series, at least the first game on the definitive edition version on the Switch a shot, because I think it's worth it. And if you have trouble with some bosses, I do not blame you if you go to casual mode, because there are some bosses that are a bit of a pain. Fortunately, it's only like, what, 1 or 2? In this, 80-hour RPG? Yeah, not much of an issue. Also, we're now in Ridley the area. And there's another Teresa statue. Yeah, it took us near the end of the game for us to see another one of these. And time to exploit it. Stand in the corner for me. Yeah, and you'll eventually explode. Although it's not going according to plan. Well, it is. 3, 2, 1. There you go. I didn't actually memorize the time it was gonna explode, so I was just taking it back. But I was just saying, I very much appreciate the Switch era. Like, games like No More Heroes 3, that's great. Getting stuff like, okay, I know this is multi-platform, but getting stuff like Sonic Mania, Sonic Frontiers, and other third-party games like Nier Automata, that's great. Seriously, even like the people, like I don't think that it's everybody, but I feel like some of the people who say that, oh, I'd much rather go back to the Wii U era, they kind of have forgotten or don't know how much we had to wait during the Wii U era. There were so many software droughts, and the amount of games that we got, at the end, well, there were good games on the Wii U. I still love the Wii U. I still have mine plugged in, and I play it sometimes. It's also my Wii machine because I never got a Wii. But compared to the stuff we on the Switch, I much rather play stuff on the Switch than on the Wii U. And without the Wii U, we wouldn't have the Switch. Yes, without the Wii U, we wouldn't have the Switch, but it's also like the Switch also has done some original stuff that is definitely separate from the Wii U. Again, there's some stuff that the Switch doesn't have that is missing, but it's also like I'd rather stick with this new Nintendo. At least I get very exciting games that I'm very much looking forward to, and not games that I'm only looking forward to because it's the only thing we get to play. You know. Of course, there were legitimately games during the Wii U era I was looking forward to, but starting with 2015, that number decreased by a whole lot. Especially because that E3 was very disappointing for me. I was still very young, but I'm still feel disappointed by the Direct. And also, if some things could have been reworked and put in that Direct and some things taken out, it would have been a whole lot better. Like in retrospect, you didn't they didn't need to announce Metroid Prime Federation Force Air. Like even if the game looks fine, it was not what people wanted. The thing is that the game could have been announced a bit later and not at E3. Yeah, they probably wanted the E3 because they're like, oh guys, you guys are getting a new Metroid game, isn't that cool? But it's not the Metroid game that people wanted, especially because you don't control Samus. Hey. The Wii U and 3DS era was very, very weird. And I specifically call it the Wii U era because you felt the most, you felt the most pain, quote unquote, with the Wii U. Not exactly the 3DS, because the 3DS had some great games. It took me till last year, 2022, to finally get a 3DS, but I really enjoyed a lot of the games that it has to offer. Super Mario 3D Land, Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS and for Nintendo 3DS, Kirby Triple Deluxe Kirby Planet Robobots, Metroid Samus Returns, Kid Icarus Uprising, Mario Kart 7, Rhythm Thief. Not many people talk about that one, but that one was fun. What else? Fire Emblem Awakening. Yeah, that was my first Fire Emblem game, and I played that one, and I had fun. A lot of good stuff. The Link Between Worlds, which I still need to play, but that one also looks very, very fun. And it was also one of those Zelda games I wanted to play ever since I was young. That and Majora's Mask, which I want to play sometime soon, but right now my priority will be Tears of the Kingdom. I am very much looking forward towards that game. Because it looks to be I already really liked Breath of the Wild, despite my criticisms of some of its elements. And Tears of the Kingdom looks like it's gonna fix a lot of them. Not sure if it's gonna fix all of them. I'm not sure how deep they're gonna go with the story, even if it does look promising. But I'm very much looking forward to it, especially on the gameplay standpoint. I could pretty much build Legos with that game. And yeah, there's also, I still haven't played Skyward Sword. If I play it, it would be the HD version. Zelda is a series that I like, but I'm more of a casual fan of overall than a hardcore fan because I haven't played a whole lot of the games, and I get more invested in something like Metroid or Sonic than Zelda. Although, again, Tears of the Kingdom, I'm very much looking forward towards that one. So the Zelda games I've beaten: A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess HD, Wind Waker HD, and Breath of the Wild. That's it. I still have to play Majora's Mask, Skyward Sword. Link's Awakening is one I want to play, the remake especially. Maybe the Oracle games, I'll give them a shot one day. Zelda 1 and Zelda 2, because why not? The DS games I'm actually not too interested in. I could have bought them on the Wii U Virtual Console when the eShop was still up, but I didn't bother. Not too interested in them. Any Link Between Worlds, I want to play that. Yeah, definitely one I want to get. All right, now for the next boss. Nothing.
Hello, Samus. Hey.
Oh, it's Ridley! Named after Ridley Scott, the director of the Alien series. Yeah, Metroid actually borrows a lot of inspiration from the Alien series. I've never watched the movies myself, but you can feel it in some aspects. Especially, like, I think both the protagonists of Alien, I think her name was Ripley, and Samus Aran are both females. Females. Women. Ridley is an interesting boss because sometimes he's piss easy, but other times he's kind of a challenge. And I think this may be one of the harder Ridley battles, I'd say. Like even with all the damage I'm putting on him, I'm still taking damage to hell and back. And I got caught. Fooled you. Yeah, there's 2 death animations, and for Ridley, one which is he dies normally, and another one where he grabs you and dies. It's like
I'll try to take you out. I died.
Oh, the baby Metroid said, "Hey, help!" But Ridley, in like 0 missions, piss easy. Like, even with all the short shots I took, even all the damage I caused him, and even though I did win, I still took a lot of damage. So it's one of those boss fights that you gotta be a bit careful, especially if you're one of those mad lads that is trying to do a reverse boss order. If you're doing a reverse boss order, you're probably going in with very few energy tanks, and you're probably gonna have to grind for health because the assets from earlier, assuming you don't have the gravity suit, because you probably don't have the gravity suit by then, you'll need to grind for health and be in tip-top condition. But yeah, now we're really taken care of. We've taken care of the 4 major bosses of the game, and we could now go to Torian and finish the game. But this is a 100% run, and we're still missing some things, like a few missile tanks. I think I'm missing like a couple super missiles, a few power bombs, and 2 energy tanks, and I think a reserve tank. So basically, take care of the rest of Ridley, then go to Norfair and take care of the stuff I missed. Go to Brainstorm, take care of the stuff I missed, and go to Criteria and get the stuff that I missed, because there are some items in Criteria. It's interesting how, even though the main things I do in each route have been the same since my Wii U test run, I changed some because I don't exactly memorize the exact routes. I change some things here and there, and I get some items, and I may get some items earlier, or I may get them later. And it's very interesting. This is what causes this game to be so replayable. Like, what kind of routes are you gonna do? Are you gonna get this item first? Are you gonna get that item first? Especially if you know, like, wall jumping and shine sparking, because you can sequence break and break the route even more. You can be very creative. There's a reason why this is one of the most speedrun games of all time, because of how replayable it is, and another reason why I love this game. It is very fun. Although, going back on the Switch stuff for a bit, after Tears of the Kingdom, we don't really know much of what Nintendo has in store. Like, we know Pikmin 4 is coming in July, which is my birthday month, which is funny. It's not coming out on my birthday though. But afterwards, we don't know what they're doing. Although, recently, we got the news that Nintendo is actually coming back to Gamescom, and I was like, oh, that's nice. But then I found out that they haven't been to a Gamescom since 2019. And that will be in August, after Pikmin 4 releases. And we don't know anything that's happening to Nintendo that Nintendo's gonna do after July with Pikmin 4. So, what are they cooking? I don't know what they're cooking, but I hope it's cool. Hey, maybe we'll finally see footage of Metroid Prime 4. Huh? Huh? No. Okay, I can wait. At least Prime 2 remastered. Maybe? I don't know. I've never played the Prime games, so I'm very much looking forward to play them for the first time. Again, I only recently, like at the time of recording, it was only like last month that I got to experience Prime 1 and Prime Hunters for the first time. That was a good experience. At least for Prime 1. For Prime Hunters, I'm like, at least it's off the bucket list. At least I experienced it. You know, even if I come away with a game with mixed feelings or negative feelings, I'm still glad that I experienced the game at all, because it allows me to at least, you know, experience both the good and the bad. Get like an open mind, like I go to it like a more open mind when it comes to this kind of stuff. Now going back to Norfair and getting some missiles or missiles. Is it missile or missile? Missile? No. It's not Missile. But I'm actually curious. Does anybody say Missile? Probably not, but it would be funny if they do. And a missile that's hidden right over there. You know, the thing is that one of the items we picked up, the X-ray scope, allows you to see through hidden walls to see if there's anything secretive. And you know, that would probably be the way a person, a new player, gets a lot of items during the first run through, or gets to 100% thanks to the X-ray scope. But I don't think the idea of constantly stopping and looking around is that appealing. So normally you might as well just memorize, like, I guess in your first playthrough, if you're not using a guide, then yeah, use the X-ray scope and try to find as many items as possible. And then, yeah, again, this is one of those games that encourages multiple playthroughs. And yeah, with each playthrough, you were probably getting better and better at the game. Again, this game is really fun. Shocker, right? I've already said a lot about Super Metroid, although when this commentary is almost over, I do want to give my final thoughts on the game. Although, being able to know some Kami Johnny, well, being able to find out about his videos, and then finding out more about Metroid and getting into the series was really one of the best things that happens when it comes to games. Me and games, like, oh wow, I'm able to experience the series I really like. It's just really fun. Now going back to being started. We're pretty much doing cleanup right now. It's just, yeah, we're done. Like I said earlier, it's just, alright, doing cleanup, get the last items we need for 100%, and then go to Torian. You know, another thing I didn't talk about is that after this, we won't get a Metroid game for 8 years. Like, the time gap between Super and Fusion was 8, and there was nothing in between. There was no Metroid game on Nintendo 64. And then that console was all about, like, bringing franchises to the 3D world. Like, with Mario, you got Super Mario 64. With Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Both very influential games, and considered some of the best games of all time, especially Ocarina of Time. But Metroid didn't get that because, well, Yoshio Sakamoto himself did not know how to bring Metroid into the 3D space. There was another company that was approached. We don't know who it was, but there was a company that was approached to make a 3D Metroid game, and they said no, because they were scared of not being able, because they knew they wouldn't be able to top this game, which Sakamoto took it as a compliment. And yeah, I think that would be a compliment too, because my god, this game is great. because we wouldn't have a 3D Metroid game until a bit later with Metroid Prime, which came out for North Americans. It came out the same day as Metroid Fusion, which is pretty cool, not gonna lie. So we went from no Metroid games to 2 at the same day. That is pretty rad. Although for us Europeans, I wonder how many days of difference there was. Because Metroid Prime and Metroid Fusion has some link cable shenanigans where you can connect the 2 games via a GameCube and Game Boy Advance link cable, and you can get some cool stuff. For Metroid Fusion, I think you can play the first Metroid game. For Metroid Prime, you are able to play the game with the fusion suit, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, we went for a lot of time, and then with Prime, it was kind of like a Metroid renaissance at the time, because after Prime and Fusion, we got Hero Mission, and then we got Prime 2, we got Prime Hunters, Prime Pinball, Prime 3, and then Prime Trilogy, and then Other M, which was the end of that renaissance. Considering how that game was really ambitious, especially with its focus on story, its very good-looking CGI cutscenes, its orchestrated soundtrack, even though there's not a whole lot of it. It was very ambitious, and it cost Nintendo a lot of money. And because of that, when the game sold kind of poorly, and it was kind of like, and it made the Metroid series go into another hiatus for 6 years till Federation Force came out. Which, even with Federation Force, it was still kind of unclear how the Metroid series was gonna handle themselves. But then Samus Returns and Prime 4 were announced, and people were like, woohoo! And there was much rejoicing. Yay! Alright, now with Brinstar done, it's time to go to Criteria via this power bomb door. Kaboom! It's very interesting how this map connects together. You know, there was actually a room in Meridia that I didn't know you connected back to Red Soil Brinstar until recently when I saw a speedrun of it. Like, I always thought that room was empty, but if you go to the top of it and you go to the left, you'd see a hidden passageway that gets you to Brinstar. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. I never use it, and don't need to, but because now I'm in the middle of Meridia, but that's pretty cool. But yeah, this game's map is pretty well thought out. And then, yeah, we're pretty much back at the beginning of the game now. There's more. Power bomb. And their last energy tank. You know, you could get this energy tank as early as possible when you get bombs. Just normal bombs. And if you know how to bomb jump, which is the act of you placing bombs and propelling yourself up, and then putting bombs in a rhythmic fashion so you can constantly get more and more height. I'm not really that good at that in this game. I'm better at that with Zero Mission, but that's because bomb jumping in Zero Mission is pretty easy. You can spam and then you would eventually get good results. But yeah, you can get that energy tank early, but I normally leave it for later. Because to get a good in-game time, it pretty much is required you do some optimization in your routes. Like, to revisit the least amount of possible for items. And that's what basically I do. Like, I could have gotten a lot of these items as early as possible, but I didn't. Because, well, might as well save for later. Of course, if you're not an experienced player like me, then maybe it would be nice to have that energy tank, to have these missiles, to have these super missiles, these power bombs for bosses and for future areas. But it's also like, but how much do you need? For example, with missiles, you get 230. After a while, first of all, I use more super missiles than missiles. But even when I use missiles, there's so many that after a while, the difference between 100 missiles and 110 missiles is not as big as the difference between 5 and 10 missiles, you know? One thing I forgot to detail is that this area is the old Torian that we traveled through in the original Metroid. Now completely destroyed because of the bomb that Mother Brain set off. It's sort of like right before she died. And it's funny that they put a super missile under it. In Metro Zero mission, there's you get a power bomb there, so it feels like somebody came back to that place and hey, they took my power bomb. Let me put a missile here. And then Samus collected it. I wonder who could have done it. One of the last super missile things, and this is one that I kinda screwed up on. Boop. It involves you freezing these things to create a path for you to be able to do the speed booster. There are people who are able to run and then shoot diagonally at just the right time, but I'm not one of those people. And this should be the last super missile tank. I know it's difficult to know because of the low number of super missiles I have, but trust me. Also, my energy is at 69. Again, casual commentary. I don't think there's much more I can talk about when it comes to this game in particular, considering we're at the end of the game. I guess the story picks itself back up when we get to Torian, but besides that, I've detailed as much as I could. I hope you guys have been enjoying this. It's like, what, the third time I'm saying this? But, yeah. This should be the last missile. And because I didn't use any missiles, 230. Right there. And it's also very convenient to like leave that missile for like the ends because it's very close to the ship and the access way to Torian. So with that, I can easily go back to my ship and recharge to be able to be fully ready for the final boss. And there you go. 14 energy tanks, 230 missiles, 50 super missiles, 50 power bombs, grappling beam, X-ray scope, and then we have stuff like the Very Suit, the grappling beam. I said the grappling beam already. the Very Suit, the gravity suits, the ice beam, the wave beam, the plasma beam, the spacer, the charge beam, 4 reserve tanks. Now I'm missing anything? I'm probably missing something. The high jump boots, screw tack. We're fully ready. Now this door, I completely ignored it at the beginning of the game. It's not necessary until the end. But this is the access way to Torian. I like how each of the bosses has their own corresponding color. This is something that I normally don't pay attention to, but it is nice. It is a nice detail that all of them have their own color. Like Kraid being green, which makes sense. Phantom being yellow, which I think makes some sort of sense. He was kind of yellowish. Dragon being blue, I guess because he was in Meridia, and water is blue, at least in this game. And Ridley being red, which, yeah, makes sense. Even though his color isn't red, he has been portrayed as red in the North American box art, and the area he was in was hot, so yeah. It's simple, but I like this attention to detail. On to Torian. It's a small area, and there's not much to Torian really. It's basically the final boss room, or well, the final boss access way. Although I should put a warning right now, there are 2 save rooms in this place. There's the first one, which is to our right, which that one is fine. You know, if you want to save, it's fine. But the second one that we'll see later on, that is the one major flaw that this game has. The second save room, if you save in it, it's a point of no return because your access way to go back up and Exitorian is blocked. So if you miss some items and you want to go back to get 100%, you're not getting it if you save in that second room. So please, if you ever play this game, do not save in that second room. I know maybe for a new novice player that could be a bit intimidating, taking care of all these Metroids and take care of Mother Brain only in one single go. But if you need to make a save or something. I normally don't like saving that room either way because what if I want to play this game again and just run around and have fun? Normally I already have 100%, but you know I like having the thoughts of having the, even if I don't end up doing, like I like having that thought. It's like, oh, I can do that. But now after defeating the Metroids, it's all sandy, but I can't hurt the enemies. The enemies are dissipating. What is going on? Music is kind of threatening. There's an enemy. Can't really shoot it though. I guess we could call this a Super Metroid. But get away from me! No! God damn it! But this is what it's like being sucked. Like, uh-oh. Mama! Yup, it's the same baby Metroid we've been looking for all this time. Now exposed to gamma rays, so that's why he looks huge. Damn. And that's how the other Metroids came to be as well. Because they copied the DNA from the baby Metroid and made new Metroids out of it. Thankfully there's an energy recharge here. Now I like that they put an energy and a missile recharge here, but I really wish that missile recharge also refilled your super missiles and power bombs. Yeah, well. Now it's time for Mother Brain. The final boss of Metroid 1. She's now back. How did she revive? How did she get revived? Actually, I don't know. Maybe there was a reason given, but I never paid attention to that. Just like the first Metroid, you blow up these walls, avoid the Rankas, those circular thingies. Try not to get hit, which I'm failing to do, because I kinda don't care. I have plenty of health. And Mother Brain is all helpless in that jar. Go get her, Samus. Woo. That's it. Boo, boo, boo. Wait. And that's it. Congratulations, you have beaten Super Metroid. Woohoo! Except she's not dead yet. Huh. What's going on? Uh-oh. How'd you like my new body, Samus? Uh-oh. I've come back from the dead, and now I'm more ready than ever. Yeah. Taste my super missiles, you bitch. Ow. You know, the Super Metroid, the Mother Brain design of this game is kind of weird, but when you see it in CGI and other M's, it's like, holy shit, that looks still weird, but like, that looks like creepy and shit. I love it. Yeah, fun fact about this boss, there is a part of it that, yeah, it's scripted. But there is a part of it there isn't, so don't go in thinking that I can defeat her, no problem. It's still pump her full of missiles and super missiles. Or if you don't have them, charge beam. Charge beam is one of the best additions to this franchise. it helps so much. Don't have missiles? Charge beam. Yeah, you have to charge it, but like it's really powerful, especially in Metroid Fusion. Like the charge beam in Metroid Fusion may be even more powerful than missiles, which is ridiculous. Jesus. I'm tasting the rainbow mother brain. Jesus. Ow. Nah, this is not going well for heroine Samus Aran.
Wait.
Now it's time for you to die. Oh, god damn it, I can't do anything about this. Oh! The baby! Yeah!
Anything to save Mama.
Oh, thank you, baby. Whew. You know, I'm curious about how people felt about this scene when they first played this game. I remember seeing, like, many years back, Nintendo Caprice's opinions of this scene when he first played the game. Like, this was very impactful for a game that doesn't have much story. Having this show don't tell approach is really cool. Show don't tell is a really good way to express story in video games. Although I'm completely fine with the cutscenes. Uh-oh, Mother Brain is back. Baby, get out of there! You don't have to be elite completely. I can beat her, no problem. I have the charge beam. God damn it. Baby! Ah, finally he got out. No! God! The last Metroid is dead. Fuck. Nah, mommy pissed. Taste the rainbow, motherfucker. This is the Hyper Beam. It's an ability you only get at this part of the game. It's pretty much for the end of the game, but people have hacked in the Hyper Beam into the game, and it is really powerful. So have fun playing God if you ever cheat the game. No, I never use cheats in this game. I don't know how to do them. Maybe one day I should try them out. Just have fun. And with that, Mother Brain is dead. D-bag, Samus. D-bag. Hehe. I think chronologically, this would be the last time we'd see Mother Brain. Time bomb. Yeah, I mean we saw her in Other M, but it was basically retelling the events of this battle. So yeah, we wouldn't see Mother Brain again chronologically. I mean we saw Mother Brain the Aurora units in Prime 3, I believe. Besides that, yeah, we wouldn't see Mother Brain again. Fun fact: Mother Brain was actually created by the Chojo themselves, just like the Metroids. But of course, the Space Pirates got a hold of her and corrupted her and shit. Goddamn Space Pirates! By the way, the Space Pirates are those lobster people. They're dicks. They're pretty much the main villains of this franchise. Now that I think about it, and their leader is none other than Ridley. Interesting that I only talk about this when the game is almost over. Run, Samus, run! God damn it! Hooba dooba! I shall hooba my way out of this dooba. Woohoo! Wait! The classic escape sequence. Not all Metroid games have it, but when they do have it, you know you have to haul at your ass like you've never hauled ass before. Whee! And using a Shark Spark here is very helpful. Whee! Now, we're close to the end, but now we're presented with a choice. Speedrunners normally have to ignore this choice, because they're beating the game as fast as possible. But this ain't no speedrun, this is a casual commentary. So I say that we rescue those animals. Woohoo! Remember the animals that taught you to wall jump at the Shine Spark? Yeah, they're now here. And you can rescue them. It doesn't add much, but it makes Fusion canon since they do appear in Fusion. So if you want to make it canon, and Fusion is canon, do this. Bye, creatures! Run, goddammit, run! There you go. There's only so much time. Hoobada, 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 hoobada! Come on, Samus. Whoa. Going up. Dun, dun. You know, it's the alarm theme. The escape theme in this game is pretty much the Ridley theme, but with some alarm bells, and they really make it tense. And time. What's the time? 1:47. That's a world record by like 1 hour. And with that, the planet explodes. It's a bit bittersweet considering this is also a planet that Samus grew up in, but oh well. Kaboom! That's one hell of a bomb. Mother Brain like,
You're killing me? I'll leave a bomb behind so it destroys the whole planet, so you go down with me.
Also, look to the side after the explosion. Ooh. That little ray of light we saw, those weird animals escaping. They probably have a ship of their own. I mean, how else would they escape the planet? This operation was completed successfully, the clear time being 1:47. My fastest in-game clear time yet. Man, what a great fucking game. Holy shit. The exploration is really fun. The getting stronger and stronger over time is also really fun. The bosses are fun, even if some of them are easily exploited, like Dragon. That is just so fun. Like, I think, unlike some of my other games that are my favorite of all time, where they impacted me in some way, or were just this magnificent experience, this one, I mean, it was a great experience, but I think that one of the reasons why I love this game so much is simply because it's just so fun. And at the end of the day, what more can you ask from a game than fun? It may be an oldie, but it's definitely a goldie. And Super Metroid still remains one of my favorite games of all time. It was a game that brought me into the Metroidvania genre, or as it's called in Japan, the search action genre. You know, I actually like that name. Maybe we should use it much more. You know, so we don't have to always refer to Metroids, to the Metroid series or the Castlevania series for reference. You build, like, and without it, I wouldn't really get to know all these games. And, well, I don't talk to too many people about my experiences with Metroid. I've met a few people, not thanks to Metroid itself, but I've met a few people who are great friends of mine that have similar experiences with Metroid. Actually, thanks to my experiences with Metroid, I did introduce some friends of mine to Metroids, and they've been having fun with the series. And you know what? For me, that's a mission accomplished. Being able to introduce others to the series, and by extension, a game that I love so much. Yeah. It's kind of like passing the torch. Like, some call me Johnny introduced me to this game, then I introduce other people to this game. Those people will probably introduce other people to this game. The classic word of mouth never fails. Also, Gunpei Yukoi's name is, it's with an N. I mean, I get the mistranslation because the letter character in Japanese can be written as N, NG, or M, but it's N in this game. This is this case. Look, it's Samus without her suit. Now blast them away, Samus. Pew! And with that, it's the end of this Super Metroid commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, and have yourselves a damn good one. See you next mission, guys.